Reeser,
Here.
Steve Schlack, George Sleeper,
Here.
Letitia Wilkins,
Here.
Scott Smith,
Here. And Steve was unable to be here tonight, so if I get a motion to excuse him.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to excuse Councilmember Schlack.
This is Joe Reeser. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to excuse Steve Schlack. Let's roll call.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Next item is the approval of the agenda, and I was planning on having our HR Director, Kim Wise, just give an update on the city manager search process. Had a couple of questions, and so what I'm going to do is I'd like to add item 10A, if we could, just call it city manager search process, and we'll probably keep it as a standing item on all upcoming agenda items until our city manager is in place. So if I could get approval or a motion for the agenda with that addition.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item 10A, an update on the city manager search effort.
Jeff Arnold, I'll second.
Thank you. And we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. That takes us to the consent agenda items A through D.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through D.
This is Joe Reeser. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Next item, City Council will be asked to receive an update from our Van Buren County Commissioner, Ms. Gail Patterson-Gladney, who is around here?
She should be calling in. I
Oh, she's
haven't
calling. Okay,
seen
very
her on the line yet. I know she was here. So.
Guess we could just keep her up and we can move on to the next item, and when she calls in, we'll just pull her in. How's that
Okay.
sound?
Do that.
Because we have our next guest is with us, and she wants to get downtown and see what's happening in downtown, so I don't want to keep her from shopping. So next, City Council will be asked to consider the following. Item A, we're to receive the Community Inclusion Award from Ms. Miranda Grunwell of the Disability Network of Southwest Michigan. Which we can do that. Why don't we I'll read the second one first. Maybe if we want to, you're here, we can do the award. Why don't we go ahead and we can go ahead and get the resolution done as well. B, we're going to consider approval of Resolution 2020-33, which is a resolution in support of the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So, shall we do the award first, and then we'll...
Okay, here's Miranda Grunwell.
Great, thank you for having me. So I have on a plaque, it's a circle, see-through, so it's really hard to see, but it says Disability Network, Southwest Michigan, the Community Inclusion Award presented to the City of South Haven. And we gave it officially on July 24th, 2020. But we chose the City of South Haven this year. We've had several applicants because of the work that you guys have done for inclusion. That training started a couple years ago when I came to do a customer service presentation. And then that led to an accessibility audit of all last summer. I had other staff members from my team down here. And then I came back to do some training on ableism. And I know we have some future things coming up with some job descriptions, so just that ongoing relationship. This is one of a kind we don't have any other town or city doing that in our service area, so we really wanted to thank South Haven and set that example and challenge our other communities to be the same. So I have a placard for you, and then the little stamp too, so I'll hand that off to you,
That's perfect. Thank you.
and then the stuff to keep. So,
I'll
thank
try
you
not to
all
break
very
it. I
much.
can kind of, yeah, I can, if I can get up here so people can kind of see it up here. It's kind of heavy actually too. Ugh.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to Disability Network. You've been invaluable for helping us become more inclusive, and also seeing things that we weren't seeing before. So we really liked working with you and helping us figure out ways to be a better and more inclusive community. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think the important also message here is that we can continue to get better. That we by no means have everything fixed. I mean, we have for years. I mean, I can go back to when we were on council, 13, 14 years ago. We were looking at curb cuts on sidewalks. You name it, we were looking at it. And there's a lot of things that can, still be done. So if citizens see things, we hope you contact us. We're still able to learn, and we appreciate your input on, items you see. Case point, we've gotten a lot better, but we by no means are perfect. So we appreciate the resources that you brought to bear. So.
Yep, we're happy to. Yeah, no, it's always a process. Even at Disability Network, we're always learning and growing. So we appreciate that you guys are learning and growing right alongside of us.
That's great. So thank you. Council members, any comments? All happy, all smile. Did you want to do a quick, you want to do this real fast? Or you want to?
We can get a quick picture if you could go over there.
Yeah, we'll do a quick
We'll get a
photo.
quick picture.
All right. Where are we going?
You can go along this wall.
Yep, you got it.
Letters on that wall.
You can just hold it. Yeah, you can hold it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah, happy to. That's a beautiful drive.
And we'll do the motion next time. Want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll stay for that.
No, dark right out of here.
Right, that way if there's any questions, I can
Yep,
answer.
absolutely. Okay, thank you again. So next I'll be looking for a motion and a second on the approval of Resolution 2020-33, which is the resolution in support of the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
This is George Sleeper. Make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-33, a resolution in support of the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Letitia Wilkins, I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any other council questions? All right, seeing none, I guess we do have a spot here for public comment. Public comment, 637
0777.
0777. We'll wait for public comment. Seeing as we have Miranda still with us, you want to tell us why this is important? You want to share it for a second?
Yeah, I have to. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, I don't see any.
I got thumbs up. Yep,
Perfect.
thumbs up. Good.
So, the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the reason why it's a big deal, it's 30 years. It's a new Civil Rights Act. There's still people today that I meet when I say the ADA, they'll say, what does the American Dental Association have to do with disabilities? And so it's just a great way to acknowledge, and we know that the city of South Haven supports us and our work that we do. And so that's why we're asking for the resolution, is just to show support. And it's a good way to educate the community still too, that there is this law and it protects us. Even in a time like now, it's even more important to have the ADA to protect people with disabilities out in our community.
Good description. Any phone calls coming?
No phone calls just yet. And one last thing to mention, as part of the 30th anniversary, the event last 2 Fridays ago, where we did receive the official NAPA Community Inclusion Award, the Disability Network put together a very excellent timeline video of the progression of different legislation that has come through that makes up the ADA. We'll have that on our website going forward. We thought it was a great addition, a great job that they had done. So we were going to put that on there as well as our resolution of support.
Oh, that's great. And again, we can continue to get better, so that's great.
Yeah, and it's a really good video. If you have, it's on our website and on our Facebook page at Disability Network if you want to watch it right away.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
No other comments, sir?
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. No other comments. Let's do a roll call.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Thanks, everybody. And again, thank you for coming.
Thank you for
And
having
we appreciate everything that your organization is doing every day.
Thank you guys very much. Just great seeing all of you again.
All right,
thank
enjoy
you.
your shopping.
I will.
Go to the splash pad. Check it out.
I'm very excited to see it. I heard a lot about it on the news, so.
You
Thank
got it.
Cool, thank you.
You might see Chris's kids down there, so that's good. All right, so,
We're back. Gail's ready. Do you wanna have
we
a
have
call?
Gail. Gail. When you're ready, you're on. Hello, Gail.
Hello, Gail.
Hello.
All right, you ready for your update?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Gail Patterson Gladney, Van Buren County Commissioner for District 1. And I have 4 items I wanted to mention. One is the news from the county board. And the governor has given permission for public bodies to continue holding online meetings as long as the public has an opportunity to participate. Therefore, the Board of Commissioners will continue to meet as we have for the past 5 months. And the county website provides instructions for accessing these meetings. And that website is www.bbco.org. Also, the Sheriff's Department, there's been an approval by the commissioners for the Sheriff's Department to place an order through Tapper Ford to purchase 4 patrol vehicles for a cost not to exceed $160,000. And then also, commissioners honored Mr. DeGraff, who recently celebrated his 103rd birthday for his service to his country, World War II, his community, and to his family. And the last item is Van Buren County Notice of Public Hearing on proposed 2020-2021 county budget. And if the city would like a copy, I can send one. I meant to hand one in today. But it says, please take notice that on August 11th, 2020 at 2:50 p.m., a public hearing will be held for all interested citizens of Van Buren County. The hearing will be held in the Board of Commissioners Room, 219 East Pawpaw Street, 2nd floor, Pawpaw, Michigan, to consider the county's proposed 2020-2021 budget. And please note the proposed millage rate will also be adopted as part of the budget process. Electronic meeting notification will be posted on the Board of Commissioners site at www.bbco.org/board.asp. And there's more on the hearing notice, but I will get a copy to the city if they so choose, if they need that. And other than that, that's all my comments. Do you have any questions?
I do not. Any other council members have any questions for Gail? I've got a lot of head nods. So Gail, thank you for your input, your feedback, and your service as always.
Thank you, Gail.
Okay, I'm having difficulty hearing you, so I'm taking that you had no questions.
Yep.
And thank you for your time and attention.
Thanks, Gail.
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
All right, next, City Council will receive a presentation from our Human Resources Director, Ms. Kim Wise, regarding the city's diversity and inclusion initiatives. And I will just start by, one, I just want to thank Kim for the work she's been doing. A lot of this work didn't just start. Kim can share with us when it started, but she's taken a lot of initiatives since she's gotten here. Things have been in place. I mean, whether it's from technology, to looking at fiscal efficiency, ways we could, we're always looking at budget items, to the diversity discussion she's going to have tonight. So I just want to thank her for really doing a very good job, and it's tricky right now. It's a tough kind of environment to work in, I mean, as we all know. So I appreciate her efforts, and I will cue Kim up and just say again, thanks, Kim, and here you go.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. I am attempting to share my screen right now, so I'm hoping that all of you can see that okay. All right, so thank you for inviting me here tonight to speak about the city's diversity and inclusion initiatives. As most of you are aware, I joined the city last year in June of 2019, so I've been here just over a year. Prior to that, I was in HR over at Bronson Healthcare Group, where I had the opportunity to work with a wonderfully diverse group of coworkers. Bronson had 9,000 plus employees, so we were also fortunate that they had a very wonderful diversity and inclusion department that provided training to the leadership team and staff members throughout the year. And I found that those training sessions to be absolutely priceless. So when I joined the city last year, I immediately noticed that we do have a lack of diversity within our staff. So I added diversity and inclusion as one of the many things that I wanted to tackle during my tenure here. And I feel as though we've made some progress this past year, but without a doubt, there is so much more that needs to be done. Let's see if I can get that slide to move. Okay. So before we jump into the progress that we've made so far, I wanted to touch briefly on what is diversity and inclusion. You often hear these terms used together in tandem, but they are two separate concepts that just happen to work well together. So diversity is what makes each and every one of us unique. It's learning to respect and appreciate what makes us different, whether it's age, gender, ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, education, or national origin. These are all wonderful things that make us all unique. So the city should be taking a look at employing people who are reflective of our community so we can celebrate those unique qualities that we all have. Inclusion is embracing and respecting and valuing that diversity without having judgment or bias or stereotypes. It's those behaviors and norms that ensure that everybody that we bring into the city, whether it's a customer or an employee, they feel welcomed with us. So it's not just something we can say we're going to do, it's something that we have to actively work at. We have to understand others. When I was at Bronson, one of my favorite sayings they had there was more wonder, less judgment. So if somebody was different than you, take some time to understand that difference rather than jumping to judge them. We also have to actively work to eliminate unconscious bias. Every single one of us has this unconscious or implicit bias, things that we don't know we have within us. So we have to work on that together. So some of the progress we've made over this past year, again, I'm going to start from June 2019 because that's when I started here. We initially started posting jobs on Facebook because we wanted to reach a broader audience. The following month in July, we took the step to ban the box. If you're not familiar with what that is, at that time, we only had paper applications, and on that application was a section that asked about past criminal history. Many folks will be hesitant to even fill out an application for employment because they're concerned about what they may have done 10, 15, 20 years ago as, maybe a young adult or a minor. So we took that question off of it. That doesn't mean that we're not running background checks, but we only run a background check after we made a conditional job offer. So we're just trying to make people feel more comfortable applying for positions with us. In the summer of 2019, like Miranda talked about, we did an accessibility assessment of downtown South Haven and our city buildings. Disability Network ran that, so then that way we could, again, make South Haven as a whole inclusive. And then in fall of 2019, we moved to an online employment application. So then that way it'd be easier for folks to apply for a position. Maybe they didn't have transportation to drive to City Hall to fill out a paper application. So this online application, it's mobile friendly. Anybody can fill it out using a cell phone if they wanted to. In the fall of 2019, we also added the diversity question to all of our interview questionnaires. So when a potential employee comes in for an interview, we ask the question, tell us about a time that you worked with somebody of a different culture and how did that work out for you? So a question similar to that. We're looking to make sure that anybody that we bring into the city of South Haven is going to value diversity. In December 2019, this was a lot of fun. We did our first ever leadership retreat. So we spent half a day working with all of our leaders on servant leadership and customer service and valuing others. I felt like it was a really beneficial day and look forward to making that an annual retreat. In January 2020, I had the opportunity to go to South Haven High School and work with other community members on Project Pathways, resume critiquing, and mock interviews. I'm a firm believer that in order to increase diversity, we also need to go back and work with our students. So anything that we can do to work with the local students, I'm all on board with that. We also did a donation drive for the Martin Luther King Jr. event that happened over at the high school in January, and a number of us attended that event as well. Also in January, we had the Ableism 101 training with Disability Network, which is what Miranda talked about earlier. And the following month, I went to South Haven Public Schools and met with some of their staff members, their leaders, and met with Eddie Polk from Entergy, who trains on diversity. We did a diversity training planning session together, a wonderful partnership with the schools, and we were hoping to get some trainings rolled out to both of our staffs at the schools and here at the city, but then COVID hit and we weren't able to do that in-person training. So we looked for other ways to increase the diversity. In June of 2020, we implemented a practice called blind hiring. And what that means is when somebody applies for a position, I put all their information into a spreadsheet, looking at education, employment history, their skill set, and I will go through and score them based on that. But before I send all of the candidates to the hiring manager, I strip away names, street addresses, date of birth. Usually they don't put that on there, but like when they graduated from high school or college, so then that way they don't see where they live or how old they are. And studies have shown that if a candidate has an African American sounding name, there's a 50% less chance of them getting called in for an interview. So we're stripping that information away before I send it to the hiring managers. So then that way it helps reduce the implicit bias. That same month, a little bit later that month, many of us participated in the Black Lives Matters March. So I know that the mayor was there, the interim city manager, myself, the DPW director, water filtration plant superintendent, members of council were there as well. So we all participated in that. That same month, I also requested to BSNA, who handles our online applications, that they remove race and date of birth from the online applications. It's currently on there and it's showing as optional, but again, trying to remove that implicit bias by having that just taken off the application altogether. As Miranda mentioned, we are working with them to review job descriptions. So to make sure that what we are putting as a requirement on our job description is actually needed for that position. Again, tonight I'm here presenting to you, and we're hoping to get some diversity and inclusion training rolled out to council members, staff members, and leadership within the next month to 2 months. So we're making some progress on that. But before you can fully fix a problem, you have to understand it. So I took a look at some data that we have. We currently have 77 full-time employees, 8 part-time, and 21 seasonal employees. And if we take a look at the racial makeup of this group, 88% are white, 4% are Black or African American, 1% is Native American, 2%, 2 or more races is 4%, and Hispanic or Latino are 3%. So we can see that there's some disparities there. For the 2010 census, the South Haven's racial makeup is 81.7% white, 13.3% Black or African American, 0.7% Native American, 0.5% Asian, and 2.9% 2 or more races. With this in mind, it's clear we have some disparities, but there is some good news though. Our hiring practices since September 2nd, 2019 shows that we have increased our diverse hirings. So when we take a look at the racial makeup of the employees who are hired since then, we can see the increase. If you're wondering why I chose September 2nd of 2019 as our starting date, that is the first date that we hired somebody after I started working here. So again, just going with the data that I've seen since I've been in this position. So we can take a look and see that we have 5 full-time new hires, 2 part-time new hires, and 14 seasonal new hires since September 2nd, 2019. And of that group, 62% are white, 9% were Black or African American, 24% were 2 or more races, and 5% were Hispanic. So compared to the last slide, we are seeing some progress being made in the diverse hirings. You may be surprised that we've only hired 5 full-time people since September, and part of that is because we do have great retention of our staff. That's wonderful for retention and employee engagement, but it does make it tougher to work towards our goal of building a diverse workforce. Now, of those 5 full-time employees that we did hire since September, 1 was Black or African American and 4 were white. So again, good progress that we're getting there slowly but surely, but there's additional things that can be done and should be done. So we need to develop and promote a culture that celebrates diversity at the City of South Haven. And we can do that by 1, putting it in writing, take a look at our mission, vision, values, put it up on our website, hang it up in buildings, making sure that it's hard to miss. We have to commit the time, the financial commitment to training and more training. So leadership retreat, this needs to be in every single leadership retreat we have. New leader onboarding. We do a great job of promoting from within, but we need to make sure that our leaders have the skill sets they need to be a good leader. And then maybe looking at computer-based learning modules for our staff to do annually. We need to take a look at partnerships, whether it's with Diversity Coalition 2.0, the churches and the schools. We can make these partnerships happen. We need to get staff involved. So whether it's through like a committee, celebrations, or even our quarterly newsletter. Again, want the staff involved with this. And accountability. So making sure that we're coming back to council, giving you updates, making it public for the community to see as well. So taking a look also at accessibility. You may be familiar with equality versus equity. Equality is when we treat everybody the same, fair is fair. That's not necessarily what we're striving for. We're looking for equity, where it may be that we are trying to help somebody who needs that additional help. So if we're taking a look at our applications, we know that sometimes folks struggle with getting internet. So we could take a look at maybe putting some kiosk in the lobby so that people could come in and apply for a job right online. Again, we would continue to do the paper applications, but if somebody wants to apply online, that could be a possibility. Also taking a look at our recruitment. What can we do to help spread the word about our jobs that we have? I'd be interested in making some tips and tricks flyers that talk about, things that you can do to improve your interview skills, or, what to wear to an interview, and, how to fill out an application or upload your cover letter and resume to the application. I would also be interested in displaying our open positions in the lobby of City Hall. So then that way you don't have to necessarily try to find it on our website. It would just be right there if you're walking into City Hall. And again, developing a formal network for distributing our open positions. I know that our interim city manager sends out emails occasionally with our open positions, but I'd really be interested in making that formal. So as soon as something becomes available, we're shooting that out via email. So that is the update that I have for now. Again, we've made some progress. Is it enough? No. Can we keep going? Absolutely. And I would like to be a partner in this and work with council and moving forward. So I'm open to any questions or feedback that you may have.
All right, thank you, Kim.
Questions?
All right, council questions.
Question?
Yes, Mr. Reeser.
And my first question is, I appreciate everything you're doing, Kim, and I think they're all good. Here would be my question. Have you given any thought to a diversity or an inclusion committee? In Kalamazoo, they have hired a diversity inclusion manager, which has really made some inroads. And one of our residents spent a half an hour with that woman, and it was very enlightening, the things she is doing. So my question is, I know it would be expensive for the city to have a diversity and inclusion manager because it's expensive, but a committee, we wouldn't have to pay people, but we could have diversity on that committee to be a part of decision-making and setting rules, regulations, city charter, whatever, so we could in fact get more diversity. Has any thought into that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to a diversity and inclusion committee. I think that's something that we can talk about. You know, maybe if council wants to do a special workshop to take a look at exactly what you want this committee to look like, we could do that. It's not going to be something that's going to be quickly put together, but I feel like if we all work together and develop a strategy, we could come up with something.
The other question I have is a mission statement. I know that the mayor is in agreement with this. I've brought it up several times in the 2 years I've been on city council. A lot of cities have mission statements, and it basically says, what does that city stand for? And one of the things it should stand for is inclusion, diversity. And this time of all times, we should have that. And we had a resident come to a meeting, and one of the things he said was maybe we should have a big poster in the lobby, and it says what our mission statement is and what we're trying to accomplish as a city. So I think that would be a good step in that direction. And again, I use Kalamazoo because I'm familiar with it. They do have a mission statement, and clearly in there it talks about diversity and inclusion. If you read it, you would walk away thinking, here's a town that really cares about the residents. So have you given any thought to a mission statement, or should that be strictly driven up from the council?
I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. When we did our leadership retreat, we actually did a little breakout session where we talked about what is our mission, vision, and values, because we asked the question, what is our mission statement? And really nobody knew what our mission statement was. So it may be time to take a look at what that is and absolutely emphasize diversity and that diversity and inclusion. So I am wholeheartedly on board with that.
And I would volunteer to help you if such a thing was needed. I don't know if you could use any help from me, but I'd be glad to be involved. And my last question, I'm sorry to have so many. When I mentioned this to you once before, Kim, when I worked for a Fortune 500 company, it was family owned. And one of the things the owner said is it's not enough to take applications and say you're going to hire minorities and be diversified. You have to go out and go where Blacks are, go where Hispanics are, go to Black colleges, go to Black communities. I don't even know where you go. But as an HR person, are we starting to do that? And I understand we're a small town, but I don't think we're ever going to get diversity, and especially in higher qualified jobs. And that's what we really need. We need more minorities in higher positions in the city. We have to go where the educated, talented minorities are working and where they live. Are you doing that with all the things you have going on? Is that part of your plan?
Yeah, I reached out to a community member and made the offer that I would be willing to come to different organizations or churches in town and work with folks on, you know, interviewing techniques, or, you know, how to apply for our positions, or getting to know what positions we even have available. You know, I'd be very interested in, you know, every year the chamber does a community and business expo, doing a breakout session there just to educate folks on what positions and careers are even an option with the city. A lot of people don't know about the wonderful careers that we have available here, or for that matter, even positions on our boards. You know, so these are things that, you know, I'm thinking ahead on, but I'm always open to more, you know, suggestions like you're saying.
But I was thinking, Kim, more of us going to other communities, us going to Black colleges, for example. If we were looking for someone right out of college that we could bring in as a trainee, I don't even know if we have such a position. But are we going to places where minorities are? We only have X number in this town. We can look here, but for higher positions, can we go outside this town? Are we making an effort to seek out minorities across the country?
So current state, I would say probably not. We do have a partnership called Handshake. So it's with the various colleges throughout the state, so that we can be posting positions there. Have I made the effort to drive to different colleges and join recruitment fairs? I plan on going to 2 this year when we had police openings, but unfortunately with COVID, we weren't able to do that. So, I mean, that's definitely something we can take a look at. So again, I'm open to that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? And Kim, just, we've talked about doing a workshop with the council, with Mr. Eddie Polk. So that's something, just council members, I want you to ponder this. He ideally would like, he said, up to, Kim, what do you say, 6 hours? So I kind of was like, okay, I know it's fun to get together. So we said we might be able to break that up into 2-3 hour sessions. So feel free to shoot me emails, text. I know we probably got to get through the summer for Mr. Campbell to get back some sanity, but just be thinking about that bit of, time to do that. And then, the discussion about mission vision has been kind of on a wish list of mine for a while. That might be a separate workshop where we could all get together and just throw some thoughts on a board and just at least start that discussion, and then kind of ultimately bring that back to the community for some feedback as well. So there's some opportunity to do that as well. So good discussion. Kim, anything else for us? Otherwise, I will let you run.
That's all I have at this time. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight.
Appreciate it. Again, thanks for everything you're doing and good progress.
Thanks.
Next, we are going to receive an update on our staff progress of the adopted city council priorities for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. And I think Kate's going to start that discussion.
Yes, sir. So back in March, the City Council adopted their priorities for the year, and this kind of works as a kind of a guidepost for what city staff should be working on and ranking on their time. Through golf scoring, the priorities were set. So priority 1 is the most important, according to council, and then going all the way down to 12. I've kind of broken out some of the things that we've been working on. Of course, it's kind of a mid-year review because we're planning on doing a full year review at one of the December meetings with lots of graphs and lots of wonderful pictures for you. But just to kind of get started, priority 1 was the study and management of high water levels in the Black River and Lake Michigan. We notified council of staff concerns with the upcoming high water. It had already been kind of high water, but we were seeing that we were going to be possibly cresting this year. So city staff got together with local, state, federal elected representatives talking about the challenges with the city of South Haven. I think there was a period of time, I think we were in the news every other day. It seems like getting that kind of notification out, and it has borne fruit. We've had several meetings now with Debbie Stabenow, Senator Debbie Stabenow, Congressman Fred Upton, of course with our local state and state senator and state representative. We're getting the word out that we need help here. This has been a massive undertaking. Bill will be talking a little bit about this on his end, but our wastewater treatment plant has needed assistance. We've been looking at a multitude of things that are going on there. Of course, Dunkley and Ellen Avery Park, we're seeing issues there. Water filtration, we have the HESCO barriers put out, and of course our upgrades to the Northside Marina, and that's just one marina system that we have of the 4. So staff are continuing to do that. I was thinking about maybe having the Corps come in and either give us a quick presentation at one of your council meetings just to kind of see where we're at. There is some talk that the water levels for Lake Michigan are going to remain at where they're at, and so we may not actually set a new record. Although if you look down there today, maybe Chris would tell you it's pretty much been over the dock several times today. So just wanted to look at more what's going on with that, and of course, what is the hydrological system of the Great Lakes, and why are we seeing what we're seeing? Moving on to priority 2, which is the development of missing middle and workforce housing options. Staff began this with doing the RFP for the Overton the Overton property. I can tell you that RFP wrapped up on the 31st. We have 3 or 4 proposals that we're going to be considering. I'll be reaching out with Brian Kilpatrick tomorrow and just kind of seeing where we're at with that. Also, we did a Mishta Home project where you could get money to fix up the exterior of your home. We still have about $5,000 or up to at least 1 or 2 more people to go into that program. That's someplace that we carved out. I think it was about 1.5 years ago. There is certain geographic areas within the city that we notified that needed extra help. So there's still some capacity in that program. And I can get people connected with Marilyn Smith, who's the project coordinator, if they're interested. We're still looking for at least 1 more person to participate in that program. Additionally, I know there's some zoning ordinance amendments that will be going to the Planning Commission later this week. They are looking at possibly looking at by right housing in the upstairs of Central Business District building. Right now, it's a special land use. This is kind of something that's coming out of the Redevelopment Ready Communities program. This is something the city is engaged in, and if we want to get further grant dollars, the city has to complete that program. So just know that's something else. So we're looking at this in a multifaceted way. Priority 3, our economic development efforts. Here we're looking to participate in further the economic development strategy, the strategic plan. We had retained Jim Hettinger to continue meeting those goals and seeing what can be done on that strategic plan. Jim Hettinger is working with Bill Hunter and myself to see if we can get $5.5 million from the Economic Development Administration for improvements to our water distribution system. That would be in coordination with SHASA. We are also looking at doing some partnership with South Haven Charter Township to look at joint economic development planning and possibly in a corridor improvement plan. That'll be coming to the council here in a couple of weeks after Blueberry Harvest time is over. Cross time will be more free to discuss and meet up with them. And we like to do more leadership with the educational partners with South Haven Public Schools. Because of COVID, it really has slowed us down substantially. So we're not seeing as much traction at that because right now things are so much in the air. So those are continued. We used to do quite a bit of site visits on Friday with Mayor Smith. We've only been doing a handful because of COVID, and things have been very difficult trying to get that lined up. But we'll continue those conversations because having our hand on the economic development in this area is pretty strong. I should also mention that we actually received notification that Fiber Acoustic, which is one of the largest tech companies that we have here, has opted to remain in South Haven and keep their North American headquarters here. So they'll be keeping 160 well-paying jobs here in our industrial park. They're purchasing the building, and I'm very happy to keep them here. Priority for number 4, Maritime District maintenance and improvements. On this, we wanted to continue to improve the Maritime District as it's such a vibrant part of the city, as well as work on any kind of redevelopment of the All Seasons Marina. I can tell you that a plan has come forward from a developer. It has gone to preliminary reviews to the Harbor Commission and Planning Commission. There is a laundry list of things given back to the developer and things that would have to be addressed before coming back, and so we have not seen an updated plan on that. But just know that we are getting new Harbor Walk signage out, again, promoting that Harbor District. For priority 5 was the Central Business District maintenance and improvements. Here we saw the completion of the reconstruction of Center Street. Now, notably, there are some things that will have to be done. There are still some punch list items, but again, we're working on the overall improvement of that area. I know that fiber was going to be completed shortly. We're also waiting to see if there's a plan coming up for the former Hale property. The one standing building, the 2 standing buildings are going to be renovated here shortly, but we have not yet seen plans from the developer on what's to be happening with the open lots. Again, we continue to work with the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority, to make improvements to the infrastructure down there. For the community field improvements for community recreation, again, we are partnering up with the public school system. Again, that has been kind of delayed to COVID. COVID has really kind of put a wrench on everything that we're doing up here. But it looks like we'll be reaching out with them and just seeing what we can do, even though we're in the midst of a pandemic. I should also mention that the South Haven Rec Authority, we did receive notification that their MNRTF grant for the purchase of the Royal property, which is right across the street from Pilgrim Haven, was approved by the legislature. So that's a nice feather in everyone's cap. Priority 7, which is parks, public spaces, and recreation. This is again to finalize the planned redevelopment of Kids Corner Park, as well as South Beach, Monroe Bluff open space plan. Again, I think it's Wednesday, August 5th at 7 p.m. that the Monroe Kids Corner plan and the South Beach bathroom plan they're having their kickoff meeting to get the public's input and some options over there. So again, we're making some effort on that. The Trail Town City of South Haven was listed as a pure Michigan trail town. A lot of the signage has been coming in. You'll see that slowly starting to go up around town. So again, we're starting to just kind of keep those incremental progress points going forward on all these projects. Priority 8 was the city codification process. There was two proposals, one to recodify the code of ordinances as well as the zoning ordinance. However, it was mentioned when we were doing our budget sessions to halt work on this since we were looking at such a shortfall in the budget that we were going to maybe delay this a year. So city staff really have not been working much on this particular priority. Priority 9, public roads and infrastructure improvements. We have already completed a number of road maintenance projects already, and then we still have done, and we've done some Cape seals since January. We've done Monroe Boulevard from Erie Street to Aylworth, Broadway Street from Dyckman Ave Bridge to Phoenix Street, 73rd Street from 2nd Avenue to the entrance of Tractor Supply. We're also going to be doing some resurfacing of Kalamazoo Street, Clinton Street to Erie Street in October, as well as Prospect to Huron to Michigan, and Prospect Huron to Michigan in October 2020. Sorry, it was the same thing. So we're going to be continuing that. Bill, I think, will be going over that. I did have a map of our road projects put into the packet, and if you have questions, Bill can also go over those. Priority 10 was customer service and communication improvement. Again, always trying to improve our customer service and our community engagement, how we communicate with residents, business leaders, and visitors. As you heard earlier, we are doing really extensive training with Disability Network of Southwest Michigan, and we also have some diversity training slated upcoming this year. Our outreach efforts have been again hampered by the pandemic. Typically, we do send a number of staff over to South Haven Public Schools to do project pathways. We do things on how did Bill get to become a public works director, and we kind of go through things like that. So it's a nice program to be participating in. Priority 11, board training and professional development. Here we've actually completed this one on the Planning Commission in early May, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I think in early June, both completed their training with Michigan Association of Planners. So that's considered done for this year. Again, that's an RRC, Redevelopment Ready Community tenet that they want us to do every other year, making sure that our boards and commission are trained up. They're such critical boards. And then priority 12, development of community vision statement. This might tie into the mission and goals. When it was written, it says City Council will seek to collaborate with local officials and stakeholders to develop a community vision statement. So that's something that we can always work on. And there's been a suggestion that maybe it's more open to the community, and of course, that would be fantastic as a community thing. So that's my update and where we're at with our priorities, and I'd be interested to see if there's any comments or questions.
Any comments from the group? I got a few. George?
Yeah, Kate, really good wrap up of the year so far. One thing I wanted to mention is even though we haven't really taken much action in Planning Commission on the codification improvements, we have taken action on some of the redevelopment ready communities proposals and recommendations, and those have gone through the Planning Commission. So that is some improvements that are still being done, even though we're not doing the major effort that we had originally planned on.
Okay, thank you.
Point. It's good to see your dog again, George. I rely on that. I just need Chris's kids. Joe, you had a comment.
Kate, I know I asked the mayor, he wasn't sure yet, but do you know how many bids have come in since we're past the cutoff date for the Overton Park?
Yeah, 3 or 4. We've had at least 3 that I saw today. So that was one thing I was trying to get all that done, but this Monday kind of got away from me.
Perfect. All right.
Hi.
Mr. Arnold.
Hi, Kate. This is Jeff Arnold. Thanks for the update. My question is, obviously you are doing all the things to run the city, and Bill and Travis and all you guys have your daily things that make the city run. And then on top of that, you're doing that list that we gave you. That's our directive to you. That's our priorities. So then my question is, I know that things pop up. Last week, I know Channel 3 came nosing around about would we close the beaches? And I know those types of things pop up and they pull you off task from the daily running of the city to doing our directives. Do you have any way to measure when those things pop up? If Chris and I got an email today and I shot it over to Bill and he's going to get back to me when he has a chance. How often do you get pulled off task and lost in the weeds, so to speak, with things that pop up like that?
It happens quite frequently, Jeff. I have to say that it feels like we get pulled off more than we get pulled on to our priorities. So I would say that there's quite a few weeks where you feel like you're not getting a lot done on your priorities because you get pulled in a lot of different directions. And this has been a very unusual year with everything coming up. This has been one for the books. So I would just say that there's been a lot of times where city staff are trying to get back to the priorities, but we get pulled off frequently.
And you definitely, with COVID, this is a year like hopefully we never see again. Are you able to put a dollar amount on like time spent when you get derailed from our priorities or from the daily business? And maybe you can't. That's a crazy question. I just popped in my head.
I don't have one now, but I have been trying to track time that I spend on things that are not priority. So hopefully maybe at the end of the year I'll have a good number. But I do know that there are times that I find myself spending a lot more time on things that I just seem, kind of, one, they're not your priorities and it's not normal course of business. But again, the tenet of what we do is customer service for exterior and internal stakeholders. So really you're trying to get the answers answered and then keep moving on.
And Jeff, it's a good question, especially with COVID and what's happened. And again, for the council, I guess my comments would be it's critical that all of us continue to stay focused on that list of priorities, and we're not taking staff off from that list because that's obviously, what our marching orders were as a group. We decided on those. So the more we can help, to kind of keep on task, the better.
And I know, when we talked about high water, we had that high water briefing. And worst case scenario, it was going to cost us $20 million, and we simply don't have that kind of money. So it's this year of all years, it's really important that we kind of stick to our shopping list, if you will.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's really, considering we're doing, thank goodness staff's done a great job of getting grant dollars. We've seen money for obviously repair of the marinas. It's exciting to see we do have those RFPs coming in for the project. Now I've talked to a few developers on the phone with questions. So it's encouraging to see that property. Hopefully we'll see something come to fruition here and maybe dig some dirt and get some housing going. So, and economic development will continue to be top on my list forever and ever and ever. So again, we just keep working with businesses, get out there. Very excited to see Vibroacoustic staying and just kind of making sure they're going to plant their roots here in our community, which is very encouraging. A lot of very good jobs there, and talked to a lot of businesses who are still doing, really considering COVID, are still doing well. Chris could tell us if people are still coming to town, we're still shopping. I think we continue to have an open, welcoming community, and we want to continue to kind of share that message that we are here, we are open, we are we got a mask on, and we're doing business. So come. So. Good update. If there's no other council questions, let's roll on to an update from our Public Works Director, Mr. Bill Hunter. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, Your Honor, Council. Going to give the council an update on projects that DPW is working on. Currently, Dunkley Avenue, we've made great progress with our implementing of Option 5. Option 5 actually comes from the technical report we originally got from Edgewater. We had 4 options. Option 5 was the one staff created. We have all the sandbags in place. We have the catch basins, some of the outlets plugged, and we have pumps installed. And we did have it dewatered. Unfortunately, earlier today, we had the river did raise up, and we had some that actually went through between 2 properties, but we sandbagged that, and we should be able to pump it down now. Once it gets pumped down, we'll be able to clean it up, and we should have it opened. And that's only opened actually through Dunkley, so you'd still be able to go through Dunkley, but that part down Wells, just right before that alternate drive, that still will be sandbagged over for the duration. Everything will stay in place. Staff is working right now, actually Kalamazoo resurfacing project from Clinton Street to Erie Street. That will be what we call it's not a mill and fill, but you call it a mill and fill. That's where a milling machine comes in and they'll take up everything, mill it down, replace some curb, and plus do some ramps actually to make it ADA compliant. We've been working with United Financial Solutions through SHASA, and they're doing a full cost financial projection and rate design study for the utility. This is the first that's happened for both the old authority and the new authority that was formed. And with the results of this will be an outlay in how we're going to fund future projects within the 7-year capital plan, plus look at connection fees, reliability fees for new developers and new households coming into the community. Cross connection control program through HydroCorp. That's just the normal. That's going to be how for now until the end of time, unless they revise the Safe Water Drinking Act. If anybody asks how frequently do we have to inspect or go inside a house, it's once every 10 years. The non-residential accounts are 1 to 5 years, depending on their the degree of risk within that place. Lead service replacement. All of the projects I'll be mentioning today that'll be doing resurfacing, this will be the start of our lead service replacement. Remember, lead service, actually, they changed the definition, the state of Michigan did 2 years ago. We didn't have any lead services as soon as the definition was changed, we had lead services. So a galvanized service with a lead gooseneck. A lead gooseneck is that connection right on the water main itself that transitions from that to galvanized. So the galvanized, the whole pipe has to be replaced. So we're starting that. The state of Michigan requires us to average about a 5% removal, not to exceed 20 years. So we're budgeting starting off at $625,000 for that. Riverfront lights. Electrical staff responded to an outage of the riverfront lights, and the section we're talking about here is from Southside Marina to Maple Street. When they were troubleshooting it, the team discovered actually voltage leaking into the river. So staff actually removed the terminal the wires from the terminal box, and now we're not able. You can't turn it on. So right now we have it secured. So if anybody asks, we have it secured. We did look at getting some repairs, but there's not any electricians really going to touch it at this time due to high water. So we're just going to get some cost together what the replacement would be, but I'm fearing actually it would kind of exceed cost effective of that. So we're just going to wait on that for now. Working on actually an AMI, that's an advanced metering infrastructure. We had that in our capital improvement plan. That is to replace 8,500 of our electric meters and to install these, they're called collection points. What that does, it's a two-way now communication between your meter and the city itself. What that allows us to do is to know exactly when power outages occur instantaneously, even out the customers. Well, the customers don't even have to tell us; we'd be able to find out quickly. Plus, it allows the future for customers to be able to utilize this and manage their own system or manage their own counts, meaning they can know how much they're using power, they can graph it. So it's going to be a great thing. Another thing, actually, what staff is working in now is Hubbard. That's going to be another resurfacing project from Superior to Phoenix. The same thing's going to be going on there as the other one. It's a mill and fill, some curb work, and also the ramps will be brought up to current standards. Same with project here on to Michigan. and Michigan actually Hubbard to Prospect. I actually included in this packet was the revised 7-year plan for the street resurfacing. And you can actually see from there that the street resurfacing, you can see every other year there is either, it's going to be a mill and fill, and then they're going to have Cape seals. Cape seals are exactly what Kate was mentioning, what we did this year. It's a new thing. We're hoping actually with the Cape seals, we can stretch our dollars even further and get our PACER ratings up higher. Without the Cape seals, we're kind of restricted to just mill and fills, and I don't think actually the way the deterioration rate is on the asphalt that we're going to be able to keep our streets at a 5. The PACER ratings go from 1 to 10, 10 being brand new street, 1 being probably gravel or should be gravel, and 5 being average. You always want to hit like that 5 area. Right now we're hovering at it, and that's with help actually that Mike Dopp's done with this new 7-year plan, plus actually you mixing in the Cape seals, that preventive maintenance. Without it, we're probably going to see it drop even to 4 and 3. So it's a good preventive maintenance, and I think it actually worked out really well. I know I had some concerns about it initially because, you know, when you see it's going to be a chip seal, people immediately think of what happened to Blue Star, and that's not the case. I think this one actually looks like asphalt. Does City Council have any questions on the DPW update?
I do.
Yes.
Hi, Bill. You know what I'm
Yes.
going to ask?
What's that?
Why haven't we went on Dunkley? Why not make it all the way through for Wells, and then at least make sure that it's open to allow traffic to the marine
There's the kid.
launch? Sorry, I've got some helpers.
Well, if we had to do that, we'd have to revise it. Then we'd have to revise our plan. You're talking about opening up that Wells, so there's nothing blocked at all whatsoever.
Right, because as of right now, we have people that can take the all the way out to the roundabout, or they can take out to Blue Star with boats and come down. But it is a lot of work. We have a lot of people starting to turn down Dunkley, realizing it's closed. Constantly, boats are trying to turn around in the middle of traffic right before the bridge. My understanding is when we did this and we agreed on this, that we were going to have it all the way through the launch, not just Dunkley right at the condos.
No, and it will be open to the launch, Chris.
Okay, so we are going to be able to go ahead.
Yes, it will be open to the launch. When there will not be anything on Dunkley, if you're leaving Dunkley right from the bridge, you're going to be able to drive through all the way to the launch.
That's what I was checking on.
What I can't do is Wells. That area's got to be sandbagged. If we want to change something different.
Oh no, I agree. It's a low point.
Okay, but yeah, I can't. That will be open, and I'm expecting at the end of this week. We just need some more time finishing up some cleanup and some setup. Like I said, we were trying something different in between the Burr's house and the condos. It didn't work out. We were trying some funnel point and it didn't work. So we actually just sandbagged across that funnel point. We're just closing it off.
And
that should help.
Question real quick too is you mentioned, I believe, Riverwalk, the lights, the electric.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a good time maybe to look at going green with solar lights or something a little commercial?
We could do that. That's something to look at, because I don't know if it'll be cost effective right at this moment to replace that line. So maybe that's something to look at. Yep.
Good call. I will say, Bill, I had my doubts about the Cape Seal. When I saw it, I was kind of shaking my head going, oh boy. But it looks like asphalt. I mean, I'm impressed. I drive down and I walk on it, and it's kind of the rock look is gone and it's flat. So I agree with you. It looks good. So I was skeptical. I'll admit.
I was too.
I'm a believer. I'll say that. So good work.
Okay,
Any other
you.
comments? Yep. All right, no other comments. Thanks for the update. Thanks to your staff for keeping the lights on and the water flowing. All right, do we have the chief on the phone?
We should have Chief Johnson here. Allie, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to get my camera to go on.
How are you, chief?
Good, thank you. Well, I am having difficulty with my camera. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. I'm gonna just go ahead and give your update. We can go about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm not sure what is going on with my camera. So thank you. Good evening. You all can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. First of all, I would just like to start. I would like to add a little bit to our human resources update on diversity. And I just wanted to add that all 20 members of the South Haven Police Department worked on June 6th. We all participated in some fashion in the Black Lives March. So I just wanted to add that we are also part of the city. And also when the question of a mission statement came up, I just wanted to read to you in case anyone's wondering. The South Haven Police Department does have a mission statement, and this is our mission statement as of 2015. When I was the deputy chief for my former chief, Tom Martin, we reached out to other police departments, members of the community, as well as members of the department. So this is the South Haven Police Department's mission statement. The mission of the South Haven Police Department is to protect life and property of citizens living in and visiting South Haven. This will be accomplished through the unbiased enforcement of laws, the enhancement of quality of life issues, and fostering positive relationships with our community and the citizens that we serve. So if anyone was wondering, the police department does have a mission statement, and I will give some credit to my former boss, Chief Tom Martin. That was quite a task that he gave to us, and we put time and effort into it. So at any rate, I can start with, I'm just going to provide a brief update on our efforts on patrolling various issues at the beaches. So starting 2 weeks ago, I have been assigning one officer on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday dedicated to patrolling the beaches from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that has amounted to approximately 24 to 36 hours of dedicated beach patrol, meaning that officer can do nothing but proactively enforce violations and respond to complaints at all 7 of our city beaches. So we have responded to a variety of issues. We've responded to reports of dogs on the beach. We've had some calls on those. Our enforcement has involved warnings, being asked to leave the beach, and tickets. We have also been responding to parking complaints, and we've been assisting the city's beach parking attendants and writing parking tickets, not only at the beaches, but also along the adjacent streets surrounding all of our beaches and parks. In regards to the beach, we've received many complaints about speed violations. 2 most recent complaints involved violations along Monroe Boulevard and also at the various crosswalks that we have. So the officers have been given directives by me to focus on those areas for speed enforcement. In addition, we have received reports of reckless and careless drivers at the beach, around the beach. And in the past 2 weeks, 2 traffic stops involving drivers in those situations ended in vehicle pursuits. Ended up with arrests with multiple charges in addition to the dangerous driving. In regards to reports about social distancing violations at the beaches, the officers have been there proactively reminding groups. We did have one particular call this past weekend. A citizen called in concerns about Oak Beach. So everyone is focused on North and South Beach, but I think it's important to remember that we do have 7 beaches within the city. So this complaint was at Oak Beach, and for every complaint that we get about a potential EO violation, we do respond and investigate. Sergeant Carlotto investigated this particular call. There were about 20 people at Oak Beach, which is, as you know, that is one of our smaller beaches, is substantially smaller than North or South Beach. There were about 20 people. Sergeant Carlotto was able to make contact, and he determined that there were about 3 different groups of families. So he made contact, made sure the family groups were apart. So that's one example of a call that we received about a potential social distancing violation. And in addition to the EO violations, we've also been doing our best to educate visitors of what the red flags mean at our beaches and the swimming conditions, especially in light of the unfortunate incident we had a couple weeks ago with a drowning victim. So that is my beach update, and I just want to point out that that is in addition to the rest of the calls for service that we're responding to. So it's been a very busy summer. And just to add to our beach patrols, I have many directed speed control directives throughout the city. This is in a response to many citizen concerns and complaints to me about traffic and speed violations, as well as our number of traffic crashes that we're responding to this year. Compared to last, those are much higher. In fact, this past weekend, beautiful sunny weather, dry pavement, we had 2 rollover accidents on Friday. So when our crashes go up, that is where we need to increase our traffic enforcement. So areas around Elkenberg Park, we've been requested to monitor speeds in that area. I already mentioned Monroe Boulevard, 76th Street in the township, between 12th Avenue and Blue Star. We've got an increase everywhere of pedestrian and bicycle traffic. So you mix that with people speeding, it can be very dangerous. So throughout the city, in response to complaints and the amount of traffic crashes we've had, we're doing a lot more directed patrols throughout the city and township. We can't be everywhere all the time. So the officers are taking it upon themselves to wisely manage their time to where we need to be.
Perfect.
And anyone has any questions? I kind of mix a lot of information, but I try to just sum up what we've been doing for the weekends.
No, that's great. I see Mr. Arnold has a hand up.
Hi, Chief Thompson. I think I know the answer, but if you could just, for all our listeners, when your officers are wandering around downtown, do they, because we have so many people from out of state, do they remind people about masks and 6 feet?
In the outdoor venues, if people are far enough apart, if they are maintaining a social distance, our officers are not talking to everybody. If they happen to see a particularly large group, and we're talking outside, because there's a difference between outside and inside. If they are outside, the officers will make contact or remind them. I can't say that downtown, I've heard a lot of those warnings, but just being downtown on foot, that is something that they are on the lookout for. It's just people not being in big crowds together.
I figured they would, but I know as a council member, that's the one we hear a lot from the public. They're concerned that we're doing enough to protect the locals, and I figured you had already instructed your staff to do that, and I'd heard that they were. But thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Perfect. Good question. Mr. Reeser.
Chief, I want to thank you and Kate for the decision to have an officer walk South Beach and North Beach. I think just the presence of an officer there on weekends has made a difference. Where I've seen the biggest difference, and I give credit largely to our governor when she said, you've got to wear a mask in all indoor locations except when you're sitting down eating. I have seen a giant difference in our downtown. I've seen almost every store with a sign up saying you must wear a mask. I see people when they go into the stores wearing masks. Yeah, everybody walking down the street doesn't have one, but everybody isn't next to each other, so they're keeping social distance. So I've just overall seen a big difference downtown. I can't really comment so much on a beach. I've kind of avoided it, but I think it's great to have an officer there. I think it makes a difference. So thank you for doing that, you and Kate. I think it makes a difference.
Thank you. And I just want to really compliment our business owners. You know, like I've said, there is the difference between indoor and outdoor. But throughout the city and downtown, the businesses are being very good about requiring the masks. And that is probably the highest number of complaints that we receive about EO violations is from business owners saying, hey, we've got this posted. And, you know, the few times that they're challenged, they will call us and we'll respond. And most of the time, unfortunately, before we get there, the people will just leave or put on a mask. But the businesses throughout the city and in particular downtown have been doing a very, very good job as far as, you know, who they allow into their store. And they're being very good with making sure that customers are compliant with wearing a mask.
Point. Very good. All right, good questions. Natalie, my comment would be one, thanks for, you know, obviously everything you are doing. I get continual feedback from residents saying, can you just please thank your police force for being out there. We know it's kind of crazy times right now on a variety of fronts. So I just want to pass that along that you and your staff are very much appreciated. So we thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
You got it. If people would be willing, I'd like to take just a 5-minute break, then we'll finish the rest of the agenda. So if we can just take 5, we'll take a pause, step away, and then we'll come right back. Sound fair? We've been here for an hour and 20 minutes, so people can stand up and stretch.
Sure. We just have we'll have
Yeah.
one person on the phone when we come back.
Yep, sounds good. We'll have that. And then, so shall we take 5? Let's do it. I'll do a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
It's George Sleeper. I make a motion we take a 5-minute recess.
Jeff Arnold, second.
All right. Let's do a roll call.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. I just don't, if I go too long, people get mad at myself. It's a 5 minute stretch.
I've got to go to the restroom too.
Exactly. Take
that what you said for the Overton? 6?
Yes, 3.
3. Okay. That's what I thought you said.
At our last meeting,
Mr. Mayor, do we need a motion to come out of recess?
yeah, go ahead, do that, thanks.
George Sleeper, make a motion to come out of recess.
Jeff Arnold, a second.
All right, motion second to go to recess back into open session. Roll call.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. So next was just the city manager search process. I just want to give everybody an update where we're at. So at our last meeting, we discussed kind of a tentative timeline. And as I said, we'll probably keep this as an ongoing agenda item going forward, just to kind of every 2 weeks, just where we at in the process. So the first process was the kind of a search committee completed by July. And that was, I received one email on kind of possible people. I ended up selecting a group, and I got my slate here. I've got to find of the individuals. I just want to read those to the council members and get any thoughts, ideas, suggestions before we move forward. First, just so people are aware, we kind of discussed, kind of a diverse group of people. How do we increase the number of eyes that are kind of looking at the resumes and kind of going through the process? But just so we're clear, the search committee's job is to ultimately start the process, kind of create that funnel of sorts, which is kind of very typical what an HR department would do. This lets us get more eyes on it. We've done this police chief with our fire chief recently. So then ultimately still, just so we're all clear, it's the city council that will be taking these, the final candidates and making the decision. So we're all clear. So search committee members that I am proposing, Mr. Joe Alleman. He's worked for General Telephone for 38 years. He works currently for Phil Bant Funeral Home, the Alleman family. Many of you know, very well-known family in the community. Appreciate all of the work Joe's done in the community. So he's one. City Council Representative Mr. Jeff Arnold. Jeff's worked at schools now for 22 years. Everyone knows Jeff. Miss Claudia Maddox, born and raised. She'll tell you she bleeds purple and gold. She had children in the school here, Ward Run resident, been on the school board, housing commission. Just a neat lady. Mr. Eddie Polk. He is a senior technical instructor at Entergy. He's also doing some diversity and inclusion training, and he's the gentleman who I'd mentioned. Hopefully, we're going to do some training for the council here coming up. He's also a deacon at the Lily of the Valley Church. Mr. Bob Straits, who's a retired administrator, director for the Upton Institute, treasurer of We Care. He has also served 5 terms on the Kalamazoo City Commission and was quick to share that I think he said he's been through 3 of these search processes himself, so he's going to be a good resource. Mr. Ross Stein is our South Haven Township Supervisor. He sits on the Shays Board, Shara, Shasa, Fruit Farmer, you name it, everyone knows Ross. Miss Stephanie Timmer, Vice President at Surges Bank and Trust. She also sits on the Kiwanis Club and a variety of other organizations. Mr. Bobby Walker, Bobby Walker Ministries. Many of you know he does the Bobby Walker basketball tournament. Involved in a variety of community activities, worked at Entergy for almost 35 years. And then myself. I know that's a little larger than I think the initial thought. We would keep it a little smaller, but it's tricky to kind of narrow down, but this is a real good, diverse group of individuals. I've talked to all of them. They're all interested in serving in this capacity, again, as a kind of that initial search committee for the city manager. So with that note, again, if we look at that group, I guess we start with any questions on the group or comments on the group for those of you that might know any of those individuals.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. This is Letitia Wilkins. I wanted to know, Mayor, how did you come up with those names and why?
Truthfully, it was a combination of personal, either I personally have known these individuals or have had input from others just as far as, these individuals and their interest and willingness in serving, in this capacity. So ultimately, I know many of them myself.
Okay, so you personally chose all of those, Mayor?
Yeah, I did receive one email with a suggestion, so I did.
Okay. I just wondered because, I don't want someone to say it sounds, kind of biased that, one individual chose the people. And I know what you're saying about the ultimate process is going to come back to the city council. Is that correct?
Mr. Reeser. Yes, absolutely, yes. This is a select committee, like we've done for, again, the police, the fire chief. This group is just to get more sets of eyes on the applicants. And so, as you know, these are some outstanding individuals, are known to many of us on this council. So that's why they were chosen. Any other comments?
Okay.
Mr. Reeser.
So my first question is timing. We're now 30 days into the process and we're just learning about the committee. Does this push us back at all, or are we okay time-wise? Has HR gone ahead and already started looking for people? And then once the candidates are coming forward, then the committee looks at them. So does that mean we're not falling back behind? Because we, according to the city charter, we have 120 days to find somebody. We're now down to 90 days. So are we okay, or is this about where we should be?
Yeah, you're correct. We have 120 days, and that's, as we discussed at the last meeting, that's why we laid out the timeline. So the search committee, ultimately, the first job will be to, looking at job description, again, this is something that all city council members can have input on. I mean, the job description, we currently can see it's out there. If we want to look up what our city manager job description is, job advertising and posting, Kim is still on the line. She's going to fill us in on that. Again, interview questions will be formulated. That's going to be occurring. Again, Kim can talk about kind of the way we will be interviewing. And then from there, again, council can get input on those interview questions. I encourage council to get involved, give us suggestions on what sort of interview questions you'd like to see. We'll then look at those resumes, narrow that candidate pool down, and council will be deciding. So I think Kim's still on the line. She can fill us in on where we're at on the application process as far as the job description and go from there.
Yeah, so yes, we've taken a look at the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we're looking for in a candidate. That was one of the first things the search committee did. They completed a survey, so we were able to take that, revise the job description a little bit. We did get the job posted on Friday, July 31st. So the job posting is out there. It's open until August 28th. And at that point, we'll be taking a look at the applications and narrowing down to an interview committee. We have 8 or 9 people on the search committee right now. That's too many people to have on an interview panel. So we'll be looking to council to help us decide who's going to be on that interview panel. From there, we'll be selecting the candidates, calling and scheduling those interviews, and then also deciding who we want to have as our finalist for the city manager position. City council will be actively involved with choosing the candidate that we end up hiring, going through the interview process, contract negotiations, giving us feedback on the interview questions that we come up with. We may be looking at, at the last meeting, we talked a little bit about maybe doing a community forum, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do that due to COVID, but that's still on the table if we want to do that. I took a look back at the last time we did a city manager search, and they did have focus groups that were involved with this as well. So, I mean, if we want to do either a focus group or a community forum, we can take a look at that. So we are on schedule at this point to meet our deadline, which would be October 29th. We have to appoint a new city manager by then. So I believe we are on track still.
Very good. Thank you. Any other?
A question to Kim. So those same individuals will be on the interviewing panel, or no?
Not necessarily. They could be, but we're not going to have 9 people on an interview panel. That is way too many people. It would be quite intimidating for a candidate. So we could be working with council to determine who we want to be on that interview panel.
Okay. Okay. So I wanted to know, as the council, can we make any suggestions?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Someone said as far as, I don't know.
Letitia, for example, I'm on the search committee, but I wouldn't be on the interview committee because I'm on the council and have final say. So I'm just in this early stage to help sort through things and define the job. But then I would sit out when they get that first round of interviews because we make the final decision. So I'm one that would not be, for example.
Kim, this is Joe Reeser. I'm getting confused. This is really, there's a lot of moving parts here. We talked about focus groups, forums, interview panels, committees. Is there any way because you've been through this before, could you take one document, send it to city council and say, here's how it'll work. We'll do this, then we go to 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 this. And each one of those things, who is responsible? Because when I read the city charter, Kim and Kate, it says the city manager shall hold office at the pleasure of the majority of council. So ultimately, if we're going to make the decision, there's a whole lot of moving parts, and I don't know where we get in and where we don't. Surely Jeff is in something I'm not, and the city mayor. But I don't know where I come in or Chris or the rest of us. So maybe you could put together a document that spells it out, Kim, so we can kind of follow the bouncing ball, how this works.
I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you.
I'm assuming we're coming in as council coming in at the final decision.
Yes.
Yes. That's
Sorry.
correct.
Joe, we
Yeah,
did, Joe,
Sorry, go
Kim
ahead.
did, sorry, this is Jeff Arnold again. Kim did have a timeline for us. We met last week to work on the job description, the initial committee. She has a timeline all mapped out. I'm sure it would just take her not very long at all to share it out with us. But yeah,
Right.
like Chris said, we're the final say. That's the very end of this process. Is the city council will decide.
Correct. And at the last meeting, that was why we laid out, and that's why we're doing this again tonight. That's why we laid out the process, that we would select a search committee, we'd be reviewing the job description, preparing the job posting. That's kind of was spelled out there. So again, that's just so everyone's aware. The goal of this is to ultimately get this process narrowed down, get candidates, hopefully narrow them down a little bit, depending on how many we get. I mean, we may not have, we may get 50, we may get 5. Try to narrow them down a little bit, and then those ultimately get, passed on to city council, and we will be the people that make the final choice. The city manager serves at the pleasure of the city council. That is correct. We ultimately are their boss. So that's how this will work. Any other comments on the candidates?
Do we need to endorse it? Should we have a motion or something for that?
That'd be perfect. Let's see what George had to say, and I'll listen to George. What do you have first, and we can.
Chris read my mind, because that's what I was gonna. I don't know if it's needed or not, but I was gonna make a motion in support for the composition of the search committee, basically.
I don't know how we can vote on it. I don't know what the search committee is, because if it's those 9 people, Kim already said that's too many. So I don't really know what I'm voting on. Am I voting on a search committee, a focus group, a forum, an interview panel, or a committee? I don't know.
Okay, so the search committee, Joe, is just this group of individuals. I just read off those 9 names. The concept of a focus group or a forum that Kim has talked about, those are, community input process that would happen later on when you narrow the process down. If we get, let's say 15 resumes that come in the mail, those are very confidential documents. So when we talk confidentiality, again, we can't all, these can't be out scattered, to the community here. It's very much still a human resources process at that time where we're looking at documents, we're looking at individual resumes. We can't share those people, whole jobs. So their initial job is that. By the time we get to a forum or a focus group or something like that, where we're kind of sharing names, that list has been compressed down. By then the council has had a chance to get their eyeballs on it. So this first initial group is kind of just, I'm going to say, more broad-based, visionary. That's that list of names I gave you, outstanding community members that would look to, one, help define what traits you're looking for, look through that initial group of resumes, help focus us down a little bit so we get what is the best of the best.
Okay, so what we're voting on tonight is the search committee only. Is that correct?
Correct.
And can we agree on what names? Because I don't like to vote and then have Kim say, no, it's too many, let's cut a few off. I'd like to know what that final number is, or is that being too nitpicky? Should I not be concerned about it, Kim?
So when I say 9 was too many, 9 is too many for the interview panel. The search committee having 9 is fine. These are the folks that are doing the back end work. But once we start doing interviews, we shouldn't have 9 people sitting in the interview.
Okay. So tonight we're voting on the search committee, the 9 people that the mayor read off. Correct?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we had a motion and a second. And again, the group, Joe Alleman, Mr. Jeff Arnold, Ms. Claudia Maddox, Mr. Eddie Pope, Mr. Bob Straits, Mr. Ross Stein, Ms. Stephanie Timmer, and Bobby Walker, as well as myself. So we had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, let's roll call it.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. And again, thanks to all those individuals for volunteering. And we will continue to update the council, the public, as this process goes forward, because there will be lots of opportunity for input. So keep them coming. Next is really going to be, if you...
Mr. Mayor, can I interject one little part? I'm sorry. But can we get, because the council's minutes have not been as timely maybe as they could be. Is there any way someone could send that list out? I just like to see it in writing so I have it. I'm not going to act on it. I just like to know who the people are. I tried to write it down. I can't write as fast as you said them, nor the spelling. So if I could just get that list, and maybe some others would like to have it on city council as well.
You got it.
Thank you.
You got it. All right. Where was I before I was interrupted? I don't know. Okay. So let's pass that. Well, thanks to those members for volunteering. I will leave it at that. How's that sound? Next, city manager account. Oh, no, sorry, citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. 6370777 is the number. We have people in the queue. All right, let's roll.
Hi.
Hi, Colin, you're on the line with the
I'm
council.
Beverly Brown, and I live at 564 Indiana Avenue. And tonight I am representing a wonderful group in our city called the Ward 1 Community Action Committee. And I actually came to City Hall tonight with a copy of a letter for our police chief, our city manager, our mayor, and all the city council people. And I'm sure Travis will get that to you somehow, but I'm going to read the letter to you right now. And this is what it says. Dear Honorable Mayor Scott Smith and the members of the City Council, for many months, the streets on the periphery of Elkenberg Park have been the scene of drag racing. This seems to happen in the evenings and on the weekends. We are especially concerned for the many children coming and going from the park. It has become very dangerous on Humphrey and Elkenberg streets. After dispatch has been notified of the speeding, by the time the officers get to the park, the offenders are gone. Calls have been made to the police and to the police chief, hoping to discuss the matter. It takes repeated calls and leaving several messages to get a response. Therefore, we see the need for more regular patrolling by the police, especially in the evenings and on the weekend. We feel that there used to be a more regular presence of the police at the park. Also, we would like the officers to get out of their vehicles and walk around the park and neighborhood to positively engage with residents to improve community relations. And we would like to meet with Chief Thompson about our concerns as soon as possible. We invite you all as city officials to come to the park, walk around, talk to the people to see that this is a legitimate concern. This beautiful park was revitalized because of all of you and the Ward Community Action Committee, and I also want to add the rest of the community working together. Let's work together again to improve the safety of all who use the park and live in the neighborhood. I'd also like to add to that, that's signed Gail Patterson Gladney, who is our president, and I am the secretary. But I'd also like to add that we not only want a dialogue with the police, but we want action. We want that 25-mile-per-hour speed limit to be enforced immediately before a tragic accident occurs. I mean, right now, that park is being used by many, many children, and it's still summer. We've still got a month of summer to go. So we think it needs to be done right away. And as taxpayers, we believe that we deserve a more regular presence of the police. So we hope to hear from any and all of you. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you for the call. And just so you know, I mean, I'll reach out to Chief Thompson right away. And her and I have been having discussions. And I know she's coming up with a plan to, increase foot patrols. I know she's already put some things in place for foot patrols throughout the community. I know right now it's a little tricky because of COVID.
This is a bad connection. I can't hear. There's nothing to say. We're done. Honey, it was staticky the whole time. I wanted you in here to help. Oh, you could hear. It wasn't staticky.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you,
Thanks, Beverly. Well, just so the council's aware, Chief and I have been having these discussions about foot patrols. So I know she's made some strides, and I'll have her speak to that the next time we have her here. The drag racing issue, we'll obviously look into that, and we'll get that, addressed.
I've communicated that to the police department about that complaint that we've received from that area. So we are aware of it. They are having patrols down there. They may or may not be being seen, but as Chief Thompson said earlier, we've been having a pretty wild summer. I know that we had 2 traffic crashes, I think, this weekend. So
yeah,
I guess we can move on to the next caller.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, caller. You're on with the City Council. If you can state your name and your address, you'll have 5 minutes. When you're done with your comment, can you please say you're done?
Yeah, my name is Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. Good evening to the council. I'm not sure if you guys could hear me. We had problems before with my phone, but I'm hoping you guys can. I just have a couple of comments. One, in regards to the information that Kim gave out tonight, and also just one quick comment on the search committee. I commend Kim on her effort that she has already done as far as recognizing that South Haven needs to do a little bit more in regards to diversity. I heard all the stuff that she had laid out, but in my opinion, in order to really help the city in this effort, I think that it would be good for the city to really take a look at the policies that's already on the books, or the charter, or whatever, or the lack of policies as well. So especially in times like these, when many people or companies and places have come to realize that policies of neutrality are not enough. And so, after the last issue that we had in regards to a minority applying for a position in City Hall, I've talked to a lot of the Black community residents. We are taxpayers as well, and we're more determined and devoted and committed to seeing the city become more diverse. It's my opinion. I think, all those steps that she put in place is great, but, it has to be a strong level of commitment as far as diversifying. Kim mentioned that there was at least 9% of African Americans as far as being hired with the city. I would like to know, out of that 9%, how many are really are actually permanent positions. So, I think, as we look at it, minorities have been denied good paying jobs with the city, jobs that lead to retirement, and that over the years have led to mistrust and confidence in the city. And it's going to take a little bit more to really try to restore that, or build the credibility, their credibility, the city's credibility with the Black community, simply because of all the years that Blacks have applied for jobs and haven't been able to get jobs. So now, through all this systemic racism and not being able to get jobs, there's a lot of minorities that don't apply for jobs down there. So that, I think, is one question that that Kim would have to answer. Why, if it's true, why minorities aren't applying for those jobs? And I would also want to know if Kim has a way to really track is there a report of those minorities being hired or those that are seeking jobs down at, with the city of South Haven? Is there a monthly report given to the council or the mayor or quarterly report? If minorities are not being hired, I think it's important that Kim should be able to identify that besides just saying, just filling out, making it easier for them to fill out applications. So those are some of the concerns that I have. Also, with maybe just some of the questions, if minorities are struggling with some of the questions in the interviewing process, maybe she needs to look at whether or not those questions are cultural-based questions. Those are some areas she might need to take a look at. And so,
hey Joe, just so you know,
I commend her for what she's already done, but we just sent a qualified employee minority down there, and the reason for her not getting the job was just has not set well with me. I've been trying to put this thing to bed in my own mind, but it just does not. The reason that Kim gave just don't sit well with a lot of the African Americans or those in the black community.
Hey Joe,
so
you got about 30
that,
seconds.
We have to look at policies, especially when it comes to interviewing, making sure that we have develop some type of procedure for interviewing panels.
Hey Joe,
it should be peers, supervisors, hiring manager. The HR director probably should be a part of that. There should be diversity. And my last comment would be on
Joe, you have about 5 seconds to wrap up.
The search committee. Is there a way for the community to provide input on what type of city manager that they would like to have? It should be some type of way. I don't know what kind of means. Maybe it's electronic, some kind of way, some type of way that they can write it in or send it to the city or to the search committee. I think the community should have inputs because this is a very important position. And that city manager is going to represent this entire city. So I think even though you have a search committee of some great talented people, the city should be able to voice at this front end, not the back end where it's all in the hands of the council. I think at the front end, the city should have some type of means where they can write in what they would like to have or what they would like to see in a city manager. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Joe.
I think we have a little bit more to do in a way if we truly want to diversify in this city, especially downtown.
Sounds good. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
And I guess my comment to that would be is that we will continually ask for community input in this process. So that's definitely a goal. So again, like I said the last time, this is the process. This is where we're at. So community input 101. And that's part of the reason why we try to get more people involved in this process, because these 9 individuals are out in the community as all the council members are out in the community. So who's next?
Hello, caller. You're on with the council. If you can state your name and your address, and when you're done with your 5-minute comment, go ahead and say you're done.
Hello, my name is Sean Wysocki, 581 Ravinia. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, 2 comments. After announcing the 5-minute recess, you took off your mask, put it on, then took it off again. My question is, do City Hall employees wear a mask during the day? If not, why do they wear one during webinar meetings if you are clearly more than 6 feet from your coworkers? Lastly, I live very near Elkinberg Park, and I can second the first caller. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One for Benny.
All right, we can take our next caller. Hello, caller. You're on with the council. Can you please state your name and your address? And you've got 5 minutes. When you're done speaking, can you just say you're done with your comment?
Okay, it's Tim Stegman, Huron Street. And good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. First thing I wanted to say is I thought it would be a good idea to call in just to have the experience being the head of the Planning Commission. I wanted to see what people have to go through. And yes, at times there seems to be some static here and there, so maybe we'll have to work on that. But secondly, and this is more for you, Mr. Mayor, Scott Smith, we went through the hiring process for a city manager when you both both you and I served on city council together. And I think there was some benefits to the way we did it for the prior city manager with the independent third party. And I don't know, I kind of, with the way it's being done now, I can definitely see the advantages of the way we did it then compared to what you're doing now. And the other part, the list you read off of people for your search committee, I was just thinking, how many of them are actually city voting residents? And, you know, I see Ross Stein is on there. He's a township guy. The township voted him in. I don't know that he should really, I mean, I like Ross, worked with him, Board of Public Utilities and other projects, but I don't know that he's necessarily the guy we need to figure out who our city manager is going to be. And then kind of in contrast to what a couple of the other callers said, I realize that for my ward, I have George Sleeper and Steve Schlock, and that's who we voted for to make this decision for us. So I don't really think we need a front-end group. We have representatives. So those are my comments, and thank you.
Thanks, Tim. What else we got?
No more callers.
Nobody else? All right, very good. That takes us to city manager comments.
Well, I just want to say that I think that we're progressing pretty well along our priorities list. I did want to give a shout out to Shays. They had a pretty busy Saturday, well, pretty busy July, to be honest with you. And they've run lots of calls. But I also wanted to say that they did a boat rescue. Maybe some of you saw on this on MLive. There were 9 or 10 people that were overcome on a small boat just outside of Palisades, and they were starting to feel the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning. They were intercepted at the pier, and with a high degree of professionalism between the Coast Guard and Shays, they were able to rescue the folks and bring the boat in. So that was pretty nice work by those crews. So I just want to give a shout out for our people in service who are really doing a good job. And those are my comments.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, let's go around. Council comments. Start at the top. Mr. Jeff Arnold.
My comment, I didn't really have one, but I'm just thinking about the callers. And Joe Reister had a lot of good questions about this search process. And we certainly want to make sure that we're being transparent, that the public gets input. I guess just because I was tapped to be on the committee, I knew that we were meeting. So we'll definitely make sure we do a better job. As Joe said, get those names out. As I mentioned, Kim had a rough timeline for what she wanted to do. So we definitely got to make a better effort to get those out to the public so everyone kind of sees what's going on. And then for Travis back there, do we have any election information for tomorrow? Is there
Hold it open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, 7 to 8 p.m. All right, thanks.
We'll be well socially distanced, and we have gallons and gallons of hand sanitizer and sanitizer wipes downstairs as well, and masks, and the big plastic shields. And we are very, I think we're making this as safe as we possibly can. So.
Very good. Is that it? Mr. Reeser. Mute. Joe, hit your mute button.
Sorry.
There you go.
I know I had several questions about the hiring process, but I want to make sure that the council understands and the people listening. I have every confidence that the mayor is trying to do the right thing and everyone else in city council. I just wanted to ask the questions because it seems fair, and Tim Stegman even made me start to question this process a little more because he's right. The people elected the people in city council to pick the city manager, and yet we've got 9 people up front going to vet these names. And I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. It's great to have talent. It's great to have opinions. But I just wonder if before it gets to us, we could lose a person or two. Secondly, I do want to say, and I'm not exactly sure how to say this, I usually can speak pretty clearly, but I have a concern not having Letitia on the committee, or call it the search committee. I'm trying to find the right name, because she's a female and because she's African American. She lives in a neighborhood that we talk about so much when it comes to diversity. So I would feel really good if you could reconsider her name. Maybe too late, but I want to give my opinion. But again, I'm looking forward to us doing a great job getting the best person. It could be Kate or it could be someone else. I just want what's best for the city, and I know it's what we all want. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sleeper.
I just want to, again, appreciate the efforts of Kim Wise, the HR director. I thought she had an excellent presentation, and I especially appreciated her work with the schools and that outreach that she was doing. That's all my comments.
Perfect. Ms. Letitia.
Just one quick comment. I totally agree with what Mr. Reeser said, because I kind of wanted the same thing on why I wasn't selected to be a part of the committee. But however, I respect your judgment and your reasons or whatever. Another comment about one of the callers about the drag racing over by Elkenberg Park. I just wanted to say, I live in that area, of course, and I have heard a couple of times some cars going down the street kind of fast, but it was down Indiana Street. I don't think that we need the police to just be standing in the park harassing the people or those type of things. I think that it should just be presence like it is on any other side of South Haven, because I think if you have too much presence, it can become negative, and you don't want that. And I think that that's what the police is for. If something is wrong, you call them. I mean, one time I saw a guy riding around with no lights on. I just called the police. They found him and they stopped him. So I don't think that you want to have the police just standing in Elkenberg Park, because you don't have the police standing in the Kids Corner. You don't have the police standing in Stanley Johnson Park. And I just don't think that would be a good idea to do something like that. I do know when it comes to the kids, most parents have their kids at home by around 6 or 7 o'clock. So it should not be any young children in the park. I occasionally ride my moped over there and I see older people in the park, and they're doing other things, but I don't see anyone doing a lot of drag racing. Like I said, it's an occasional thing. I've seen that, but I've seen it up and down Elkenberg. But I've also seen it downtown, and I've seen cars going fast even when I'm walking in the morning. But if I think it's a problem or someone's in danger, of course, I would call the police. So that's just my comments about the concern for Elkenberg Park. I don't think that we should try to give Elkenberg Park a bad name. My comments.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
I agree with Letitia as well. I think the presence, if we don't need them there, I just think that it does give a wrong impression. If we need portable speed bumps, I don't know. But because I have people flying down my road on Green Street a lot as well. I do think the committee is a good idea. One thing I've learned, especially being on council, is I don't know half as much as I think I know. And having other perspectives is a great way to help eliminate things and bring more ideas to the table. I like Joe Wilkinson's idea about getting the public involved. I think maybe one or two public meetings at least to get some highlights might help too. But those are my comments for tonight.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. So my comments, I guess we'll spend 2 more seconds on the committee concept. So we've had committees for our police chief, our fire chief, and we've heard no comments from this body. So I will just say that this concept is not new. I realize it's sparked interest because maybe certain people weren't at it. I understand that. I respect that. Why, Mr. Stegman's comments? I was on the city council when we hired Mr. Doucette. We spent, I wouldn't tell you how much. It's about 10 to 15 grand for a third-party search, and we ultimately hired an in-house candidate in our at that time was our DPW director, Mr. Brian Doucette. So I didn't find a ton of value in spending a ton of money to ultimately hire an internal candidate. That would be my comment on that. His comment on why Ross Stein, again, this is a group that's not going to pick the candidate. This group is going to look at resumes. The city council can get their eyes on every single resume. These are not for this group's eyes only. So be very clear, council can see every resume. So I want everyone to understand that. This council makes the decision. We're trying to diversify the eyes, get extra suggestion, get some ideas. So again, why Ross Stein? Quite frankly, Ross has been involved, and our city manager crosses our city line every day. If you've ever heard of Shawsa, our water, our sewer, our police department, our fire department, we don't just sit within our city, we cross the lines. So it's very important that people understand that. So we absolutely are looking for input from others outside this community. So enough on that. I think it's pretty clear. I again, disappointed maybe that it's gotten to this point tonight, but I will just say these are outstanding individuals, and I thank them for their service. Splash pad, nice to see it being used. Again, just for the council to start thinking about meeting the in-person versus remote concept, it's kind of you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. You get a drink of water and you get in trouble. So however we want to do it, just think about it. We've had discussions, again, how to get together. There have been discussions about ward meetings. We've had those discussions with a few folks as far as like getting into the actual wards. We've done that in the past with good success when we could meet in person, but that's really a tough concept right now. So possibly later in the fall, discussing the concept of ward meetings, possibly virtually, if not in person. Let's wait and see what goes on with the current restrictions. So on that note, I thought I made another comment, but I don't. I think that's it. So we will adjourn with a motion. So motion to adjourn.
Chris Campbell, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Letitia Wilkins, I'll second.
All right, second to adjourn. Roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper. Yes. Wilkin,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.